I've got another example here. Again, it's about Libya. Just look at this. This is a documentary which went out on ITV about Gaddafi and his supposed arms.
We lost many good officers, many soldiers, because of this.
Gaddafi's weapons had upped the ante.
We were forced off the roads, which then slowed down our progress, which is why we eventually had to travel by helicopter. As always with counter-terrorism, there are technical changes which take place, and you have to go through that sort of technical business, each side trying to outdo the other, technically.
Yeah, technically.
With Gaddafi's heavy machine guns, it was possible to shoot down a helicopter, as the terrorists' own footage of 1988 shows.
Okay, anyone know what's wrong with this? Anyone know what's wrong with that? Say again? Well, it's got IRA written on it, yeah. It's from a video game. It's actually somebody filming the TV screen of a video game. That's not a real tank or anything, okay?
This was what the security forces feared most. It may have been a lucky hit, but for the army and crew,
it's a video
once was
game.
enough. No one died in this attack.
Sure, no one died in this
There were many
attack.
other deadly arms to fear.
They introduced a whole new class of weapons in
Yeah,
terms of safe-firing mortars.
Yeah, I've got the bullshit button.
Bullshit detected. Take precaution.
So, the point I'm making is not the fact that they've screwed up with that clip. The point is, why didn't all the other channels have that? Why wasn't it on the Radio 4 satirical program? Oh no, they didn't want to expose that because it undermines their bogus story that Gaddafi was some kind of threat. And he had nothing to do with the aeroplane incident at Lockerbie. That's a whole other can of worms. Now, media blindness. If a story, a big story comes up that would hugely undermine, again, their agenda, they just put the blinkers on, they completely ignore it. And I'm going to draw an analogy here just to explain this. I apologize in advance for putting obscene pictures up on the screen. Let's just say Nick Clegg, he decides to recruit some bodyguards. So he gets 3 bodyguards, and one day he says to them, I'd like you to murder the chief of the Metropolitan Police, please. And the bodyguards say, hang on, we're supposed to be your bodyguards, we don't do murders. And he says, well, look, if you don't do it, I'm going to kill your family, but I'll pay you for it. So they do it, they murder this chief of police. Then he asks them to murder the Foreign Office Minister, then he asks them to murder a health minister, and various other people. He says, will you now blow up the police station? And they go and do it. They do all of this dirty work, okay? And then the British government find out about it, okay? So they issue an arrest warrant for Clegg. So Clegg jumps on a plane and he goes up to Scotland. And the Scottish government say, no, we're not handing him over because this is just it's just political football. We're not going to hand him over, okay? Now here's a question. If that actually happened, should that be on the news? You would imagine so, wouldn't you? That should be on the news. It should be the major news story. In fact, it should be the major news story in every country, without a doubt. I'm going to tell you, this allegedly happened. This happened. Not in the UK, in Iraq. This is Tariq al Hashimi, the Deputy Prime Minister of Iraq, or was, and in December 2011, last year, his 3 bodyguards all gave detailed confessions the fact that Tariq al Hashimi was ordering them to go around, and they actually describe in detail the people who they shot and the bombs that they've planted underneath cars, etc. Okay? Now, that's barely been on our news, certainly not been on TV news. If you dig around on the BBC website, you might find reference to it. And al-Hashimi, I mean, look at this is in the Iraqi Interior Ministry. This is the administration that the West put in place. And this is them issuing the arrest warrant. Where's the BBC microphone? Where's the CNN microphone? They completely ignored this story. And they said in the American media, they said, oh, these very, very grainy confession videos. Now, I tried to look at these confession videos, okay, and I couldn't actually find English translations of them. So I actually downloaded the whole thing from the internet, and I took it to a friend of mine who's an Iraqi, and I've got him to translate the whole thing. I've actually got it here. I'll probably not play all of it, but this is a translation of some of it.
The first time officially sent for me to do a work for him in 2009. His office was in the palace, the presidential palace, and when he sent for me, he said, I'm going to ask you to do an important task, and this important task is dangerous. And the only reason I sent for you because you're one of the loyal one to me and I can trust you. He said, whatever I'm going to ask you to do, I want you to do it, to carry it out, because you're important to me, and in the same times, your family and the people around you are very important to you as well. He said, I took that as more or less like as a threat, where if I don't carry out what I was asked to do, thing could happen to my family. He said, I understood what he meant, and I said, yes sir, I'll do whatever you want. He said, we're going to give you a parcel which contain explosive, and we want you to plant it in one of the squares in Baghdad, in the Mawani Square. And he said, parcel? He said, yes, which contain explosive. And he said, well, this is not our job. Our job is bodyguard to protect him. And Ahmed Qahtan, the secretary, said, look, you're a bodyguard. If you die with him, you die with him. If you prepare to save him, you'll die with him. So whatever he asks you, if he asks you to die, you'll die. Whatever we ask you, you'll obey orders and you'll do it. He said, now I've told you, now you cannot go back, because now you know what we want you to do. You cannot go back. Your destiny is now is with us. You go to the deputy's house, which he has a house empty, just she's got security there, and you collect the parcel from there. And he said they use the house basically to store ammunition and explosive. You go and collect the parcel from there, and I'll give you all the details tomorrow on what to do with basically the parcel. The target was the general manager of the health. That's the target. They tried to assassinate the general manager of the health service for the east side of Baghdad, which is called Dar Safa. He said we waited in that area until the cars or the convoy for the general manager to pass. Then we managed to detonate the explosive by remote control. The next day, the Deputy Prime Minister sent for us, and he said, we shook our hand. He said, thank you very much, you've done a great job, fantastic. And as on the way out, he gave us an envelope to say, this is present from me. That's nothing to do with his wage. He said, just share it amongst your group of people. He said, when I come out, I've opened the envelope, was $3,000. This is the first operation we carried out for Tariq al Hashimi, and that was carried out in 2009. We asked us for the second task, which to assassinate a member of the government who works in the foreign office or foreign secretary or foreign state. The third operation was to assassinate Muqaddam in the army is like General Ihsan. Basically, he asked us to assassinate him. That's the third task that I asked him. He said the target is going to be white pickup Nissan with the general sitting there. 7 minutes later, 8 minutes later, the target did pass us. He said, so we drove next to him, and the soldier who was sitting next to me carried out the operation, assassinate the general. From one car to another, yes. It was 1st of January 2011. It was holiday and the road was empty. He said, Tariq al Hashimi is going to give you a bigger task in the future. Before the 1st of January 2011, we also carried out 2 operations. The operation was basically to assassinate Dr. Hadi al-Amari and to assassinate him in Muhammad al-Qasim Street. We detonate the car basically by remote control with that person in. Now in April 2011, they carried out operation to assassinate. We drove next to him and basically we shot him from the car. After that, we carried out another operation to eliminate police, traffic police, and that happened in the Nasur Square. After we seen him in there, he said we assassinate him by the silencer, by using the silencer gun. Was one particular, well, high up in the police, in the traffic police. Another incident what happened in 2009, December. Another traffic police with his wife. That's in Sayyid al-Hadid. He said we followed him in the car and basically we assassinate him and his wife. Yeah. He's talking about another incident to plant explosive bomb in an area called Bab al-Sharji. It's basically to plant a bomb in that area to blow up convoy for the army. belonged to the army. They planted a bomb next to the Hummer, who was parked next to the door. I pressed the button, the remote button, to blow up the Hummer. This has happened in May 2010. Now is another task they're going to carry out in the Dora area. He said when we got there, the target was the police station, and in front of the police station was a block of concrete, and on the block of concrete there was chains. I've hung the parcel next to that. He said the parcel was quite big because we wanted to cause maximum damage, and it was a police car. 3 people lost their life through this because explosive was so intense and so big it caused maximum damage. When they left the police station, we blew that up instead. Personally, I was trapped. I'm a captain in the army. I was basically stuck and trapped in that operation. Tariq al Hashimi has destroyed my life. I wanted to go higher and higher in the army, and basically I got trapped in his undoing. He destroyed my family as well. Basically, I was threatened, you either work with us hand in hand, or we'll finish you and finish your family as well.
Yeah, Al Hashimi really, I think, is a puppet of the Americans. He's got links with the Council on Foreign Relations, and I think in 2006 he met with Bush, where it was mentioned in the media that they discussed ways that they could deal with the more extreme elements of the new Iraqi government, i.e. people who were loyal to Muqtada al-Sadr, I think it was. So he's currently in exile in Turkey, and they've actually had a trial in Iraq, and they've given him the death sentence, but he's had in Turkey. The Turkish government are protecting him. And he's saying, oh, it's a kangaroo court, blah, blah, blah. But there's 3 people giving identical testimonies to that. And this is what our media are reporting. If you go on the Guardian website and other websites, they'll say, he claims it's a kangaroo court. So they're kind of siding with him. But why they're doing that? The reason why they're doing that is because they don't want you to know that certain people who are being murdered in Baghdad by bombs are being done by the administration that was installed by the Americans. They want you to think it's insurgents or Al-Qaeda, so it massively undermines the bogus story that they put forward, so they don't report it. And by the way, Press TV, which they've banned from the UK, the Iranian news channel, has a lot of, will expose a lot of these type of stories. Now, media diversion. I said before that I believe that the phone hacking scandal wasn't a scandal, it was a diversion. I'm going to explain a huge, huge anomaly in this story, which tells you that it doesn't hang together, there's something wrong with it. And you've got to realize that Murdoch is far more shrewd and clever than you think. He would not allow himself to be put in front of a panel like this and be grilled. In my opinion, he is acting, and he has orchestrated the events to put himself there. Okay, and I'll explain why I think he is behind him being grilled, right? When the story broke last year, it came about, the closing of the News of the World came about because of 3 stories which broke 3 days in a row. On the 5th of July, they said the News of the World had hacked Millie Dowler's phones. Now, first point out, phone hacking is listening to messages that other people have left. It's not listening to people talking or conversations. So someone leaves you a message, it's in your mailbox. If you haven't set a password on your mobile phone, if someone else knows your mobile phone number, they can dial a number and they can retrieve that message. This is what they were doing. Okay, now I'm not saying it's right, but that's what it is, listening to messages. That's what they mean by phone hacking. Now on the 6th of July, the following day, it was revealed that the Soham families, the 2 girls that were murdered, their parents' phones had been hacked. And then the following day, oh, Madeleine McCann's parents. Now, immediately I see that, I say that just looks like a psyop to me. It's a psychological operation. What it's doing is it's pulling at your heartstrings. All these little girls that have either been murdered or gone missing, 1, 2, 3 after the other. You're pulling at your heartstrings. You're not critically analysing what's really going on here. Now, because of this supposed scandal, on the 8th of July in the press, it was announced that the News of the World would have to close because this is such a scandal. Okay? And this article here, this is in the Telegraph. This was at 7:17 p.m. on the 7th. So it broke very late on the 7th. That was when the decision was made that the News of the World would have to close. Now, it says here in this article that speculation was mounting last night that News International was already planning to launch The Sun on Sunday as an alternative newspaper to replace the News of the World. What do you need? You need a domain name. You need to buy a domain name. The domain name for the sunonsunday.co.uk and .com was purchased on the 5th of July. Now, if it was purchased on the 5th of July, that means probably the decision in that organisation has been made before the 5th of July. They're going to buy that domain name. So that means they knew those 3 stories were going to come out in the news to force it to close. That, in turn, makes me think that Murdoch was behind those stories. And you might say, well, why would he do that? Why would he do that? The reason why he would do that is because you ask, what is Rupert Murdoch's real crime? All of his news organisations have not told the truth about 9/11 and 7/7. So he is an accessory to murder as far as I'm concerned, right? Because he's covering up murder in his news organisations, okay? That's a pretty serious crime. And if you look at the date, the 7th of July, when the phone hacking supposed scandal was at its height, what's that date? It's the anniversary of 7/7, when we had Tony Farrell, a principal police intelligence analyst, coming out saying that it had been done by the government. So we had all of these headlines on our papers. We didn't have anything about 7/7. So in my opinion, it's a smokescreen. It's a bit like, let's say you want to burgle a shop, and you're a burglar. You're going to get all the money out the safe, okay? So you're there, you're burgling it. Someone rings, someone sends some children in to steal some sweets, and they ring the police. And the police are chasing after the kids who've stolen the sweets. There's a guy in the back, and he's helping himself to the safe. So they put one crime in front of another crime, which is much lesser, and they blow that smaller crime out of all proportion, which is the phone hacking scandal, PSYOP, okay? So they can blow that story out, so no one's really getting to the real story, the crimes of 7/7, accessory to murder. That's what our mainstream media are. It's a complete diversion, in my opinion, the phone hacking thing. They wanted something to put on the table that they could massively exaggerate. I think, what, one person's gone to prison over it, maybe? It's not a huge crime if you think about it. No one's died because of it. It's not the same as covering up the murder of 56 innocent British people. That's what they're covering up. That is a massive crime compared to phone hacking. Okay, and their psychological operations are endless in the media. When one of the completely innocent supposed suicide bombers lost his life, what they did, he worked in a bookshop called the Iqra Learning Centre. This was in Beeston, where he lived. I think it was in 2001. They sent some police officers and the media to that bookshop where he had worked, and it was selling things like John Pilger DVDs and 9/11 truth videos. And what they did, the police got there and they said, right, we're going to break your door down, we're going to raid it. And the guy who was standing there with his key said, no, I'll open the shutters for you, you can have a look around, we've got some John Pilger DVDs, what have you. The police said, no, we're going to break the door down. And the media cameraman was standing there, break the door down with the guy standing there with his key, and the following day, in the newspaper, Islamic fundamentalist bookshop raided by the police, who this supposed bomber worked at. That's called a psychological operation, and our newspapers are full of those bogus stories.